Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the process known as completing the square. What this is just a set of steps that take a function that is a quadratic function that's in standard form and converts it to vertex form. So first of all, let me explain what the vertex form and standard form are. So here's an example of something that's in standard form. So y equals 5x squared. There's the x squared term plus something x plus a number. That's in standard form. Well, that's great to look at, but it doesn't really give us a whole lot of information. Here's something that's in vertex form. Now, the nice thing about vertex form is that you can just look at it and without doing any work, you can figure out what the vertex is. The vertex for this is the number right after the x with the sign change. So right now you're looking at a -3. So that means we've got to change the minus to a plus, and 3 becomes the x coordinate of the vertex. And the number out here at the end, the +8, that's the y coordinate of the vertex. So just by looking at a quadratic equation in vertex form, you, without doing any work, you can just tell what the vertex is. In this case, it's 3, 8. And you couldn't do that when the quadratic function was in standard form. So vertex form has that advantage. So what we're going to do is learn how to convert this example function that I've written here, y equals 2x squared minus 10x and x plus 3. That's our equation. And we're going to convert this to vertex form and figure out what the vertex is. The first thing we do is we take the number in front of the x squared, if there is one. In this case, it's 2. I'm going to factor that, but we're only going to factor that from the first two terms, this term and this term. This 3 at the end, we're not going to test that. We're going to leave that as is. So we're going to factor. I'll write that 3 here to begin with because we're not going to test it. We're just going to factor 2, the number in front of the x squared, out of the first two terms. So 2 times what gives us 2x squared? Well, the answer is x squared. And then 2 times what gives us minus 10x. That should be minus 5x. Okay. Now if I multiply that 2 by what's in this little bracket, I get the original equation. Then what we do is we take the number in front of the x, which in this case is minus 5, and on the side, I'll do it over here, we're going to take that minus 5 and divide it by 2, and then square it. And when we do that, we get, well, minus 5 squared on top is 25, and the 2 squared on the bottom is 4. So we've got the number 25 over 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to add that to our function. Well, the problem with that is we can't just add something to our question because that just changes the question. So if we're going to add something, we have to make sure that nothing gets changed. And in order to do that, what we do is we immediately subtract that same number again. And of course, that plus 3 at the end stays. What we've done here, as you can see, this last line of the question looks just like the previous line, except for the plus 25 over 4 and the minus 25 over 4. It looks different, but since the plus 25 over 4 and the minus 25 over 4 cancel each other out because they're opposite expressions, or they're doing the opposite thing. One's adding 25 over 4 and the other is subtracting negative 25 over 4, so they're basically canceling each other out. Even though it looks different from the previous line, mathematically it's the same. Nothing's changed. Our next step is, as you can see, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms in our bracket. We're going to take this last term out of the bracket. Now, if I ask you what that last term is, you're going to look at it and say, well, it's minus 25 over 4. Well, the problem with that is you're right and you're wrong. It looks like a minus 25 over 4, but remember that minus 25 over 4 is inside this bracket, and this entire bracket is being multiplied by this 2 up front. So really, even though you see a minus 25 over 4 in the fourth term, it's really minus 25 over 4 multiplied by this 2. So I'm going to leave the first three terms in the bracket. And this minus 25 over 4, I'm going to take it out. But before I take it out, I have to multiply it by this 2. So I'm going to multiply the 2 by this minus 25 over 4. And of course, this 3 remains. I'm going to clean up the end of this expression. I multiply the 2 by the negative 25, it turns out to be minus 50 over 4 plus 3, and then I can add these two up with my calculator, and if you do that, you're going to get minus 38 over 4. And I'll just continue over here. And minus 38 over 4 actually reduces down to minus 19 over 2. The next thing we have to do, because we're very close now, all we have to do is look at the 3 terms in this bracket and take the square root of the first term. So I'll just write square root. And the square root of x squared is obviously x. From the middle term, we just take the sign. So I'll write sine. Of course, the sign of this middle term is this minus right here. I put a minus there. If that had been a plus, I would have put a plus instead. And finally, from the last thing, the last term, the 25 over 4, I'm going to square root that as well. And if I square root 25 over 4, the square root of 25, the numerator, is 5. And the square root of the 4, the denominator, is 2. And don't forget about this minus 19 over 2. I'll just write it on the side here. And the final thing we have to do is put a squared on that. So our final answer is 2 bracket x minus 5 over 2 squared minus 19 over 2. And if you take a look at this, you'll realize that this looks very similar, or not just very similar, it's identical to this vertex form right here. The original question that we started out with over here looks exactly like this, standard form. So we went from standard form and we went through all these processes and this entire set of processes known as completing the square, and we got something. We got this, which is in vertex form. So we converted from standard form up here to vertex form down here. And now that we've got it in vertex form over here on the bottom, we can very easily write down that our vertex is, remember, it's the number in the bracket right after the x with the sign change. So we see a minus 5 over 2 there. So we're going to change that minus to a plus. So it becomes positive 5 over 2 and comma. The y-coordinate of the vertex is just this number at the very end right here, which is negative 19 over 2. So I'll write that, negative 19 over 2. And that's our vertex. And that's the process of completing the square. So if you found the explanation in this video helpful, please click the like button and let us know what you thought in the comments. It would really help the channel and help us to continue to bring you free videos that explain in detail how to answer the math questions that you're working on. And also click the subscribe button too, because subscribers get to send in their questions to us. If it's not a question that we've already covered, we may create a video on our channel just for you with the solution to your question or a similar question if there's any copyright or liability issues. So please subscribe and send us your question to solve right now. It's like having your own personal math tutor for free. And you can send your questions either in the comments or through our website. We've included a link in the description below where you can send us your question. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye.